Welcome, friends. Today I bring you a heart-touching story that will truly stay in your heart forever. Today's story is about a single dad who carried not just the weight of his dreams, but also the tender hand of his little daughter, whose tiny legs could not move like other children. Yes, friends, she had no strength in her legs and he never left her side, not even for a moment. The scene opens in a shining corporate office. The father, nervous yet determined, walked into the interview hall. In one hand he held a simple folder with his resume. In the other, the soft hand of his little girl, who clutched her doll tightly to her chest. Every eye in the room turned toward them. Whispers began. Some people frowned. Others raised their eyebrows as if saying, "What is he doing bringing a child here?" But the father didn't care. He knew his daughter depended on him, and leaving her alone was never an option. He gently lifted her into the chair beside him, brushing a strand of hair from her face, whispering, "Don't worry. Princess, I'm here." Suddenly, the heavy glass doors opened. The CEO entered, a tall, confident woman in a crisp white suit. Everyone quickly stood up, silence filling the room, her eyes sharp yet compassionate. Immediately noticed the little girl, sitting quietly, her feet unable to touch the ground, her doll resting on her lap. The CEO paused. Instead of walking to her grand chair, she slowly walked toward the child, knelt down and softly said, "Hello, sweetheart. Is this your daddy?" The little girl nodded shyly, holding her father's hand tighter. The father's eyes glistened with emotion, unsure what would happen next. But to everyone's surprise, the CEO smiled warmly and said to the father, "You're not here alone. You're here with the most important part of your life, and that makes you stronger than any resume I've ever read." Friends, in that moment, the entire room that once stared in judgment was filled with silent admiration, because sometimes strength is not shown in muscles or titles, but in love, sacrifice, and courage. So friends, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, Soul of Kindness, where every story begins with love and ends with hope. Welcome, friends. The silence in that room felt like time had stopped. The single dad sat frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never expected kindness in such a place, where power and prestige usually ruled above compassion. His little girl, still clutching her doll, looked up at the CEO with innocent eyes, not fully understanding the weight of the moment. The CEO stood up slowly, and to the shock of everyone in the hall, she pulled out 2 extra chairs and placed them right beside her seat at the long, polished table. With a calm but commanding voice, she said, "If this father is to be interviewed today, then his daughter will sit beside him, because she is part of his journey, part of his strength. Without her, he would not be the man he is today." Gasps filled the room. Some people lowered their eyes in shame for how they had judged him only moments ago. The father's throat tightened, his eyes filled with tears he tried hard to hide. His daughter looked at him, then at the CEO, and whispered softly, "Daddy, she's nice." And in that small whisper, the father's heart broke and healed at the same time. For so long, he had carried the burden of being judged for being a single parent, judged for bringing his daughter everywhere, judged because her legs did not move like other children's. But today, in front of strangers, someone saw not his weakness but his strength. The CEO then addressed the entire room, her voice firm yet gentle. "A company is not built only on profit but on people. And if this man can show up with his child, facing judgment and hardship, yet still fight for a better future, then tell me, what better employee could we ever ask for?" Friends, the room that once looked cold now glowed with warmth. The father lowered his head, unable to hold back his tears anymore. His little girl squeezed his hand, her doll pressed tightly against her chest, and for the first time, he felt the world was not against them. That may be, because maybe life could change. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and HateGap channel Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The father could barely breathe as he watched the CEO's words ripple through the entire room. His daughter leaned gently against his arm, her small eyes shining with hope. Though she didn't fully understand why everyone suddenly looked at her differently, the CEO looked at him once more, and then in front of everyone, she did something no one expected. She walked over to the father, extended her hand, and said softly yet firmly, "Sir, the interview's over. You are already hired." The entire panel gasped. One of the senior managers whispered, "But, we haven't even tested his skills." The CEO turned her head sharply and replied, "Skills can be trained. Character cannot. This man has already shown more courage, responsibility, and dedication than half of this room combined." The father felt his world spin. For months he had carried his daughter from one office to another, only to be turned away. He had swallowed every insult, every cold stare, every "sorry, we can't hire you." And now, here in this very moment, someone finally saw his worth. Tears rolled down his face as he tried to stand, but his knees trembled. His daughter, holding her doll tightly, looked up at him and whispered, "Daddy, we did it." He knelt beside her, kissing her forehead, whispering back with a broken voice, "Yes, princess, we did it." Friends, the CEO's eyes softened as she watched this father and daughter. Then she added something even more shocking. From today onwards, this little girl will always have a place here too. Whenever she needs to sit beside her father, she is welcome. Because if he can carry the weight of her world, then we can carry the weight of his. The room erupted not in laughter, not in whispers, but in applause. Every single person clapped, some even with tears in their eyes. The father covered his face, unable to stop crying, while his daughter leaned against him, safe, loved, and proud. And friends, that day was not just about a job. It was about dignity restored, love honored, and a reminder that kindness has the power to rewrite lives. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and AppGapner channel Soul of Kindness. Friends, as the sound of applause faded, the father sat there in disbelief, his arms wrapped protectively around his daughter. For so long he had walked through life with nothing but rejection. And now in a single moment the world had turned. The CEO walked closer and gently placed her hand on the little girl's shoulder. With a smile she said, "Sweetheart, your daddy is a brave man. And brave men deserve a chance." The little girl's eyes lit up. And though her legs could not carry her like other children, her heart soared higher than ever before. The father whispered, his voice breaking, "Thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. I promise I won't let you down." But the CEO stopped him, shaking her head. "No, don't thank me. Thank yourself. You never gave up, even when the world turned its back. This victory is yours." Tears streamed down his face as he held his daughter close. In that room, every person felt the weight of true strength, not the strength of muscles or money, but the strength of love, sacrifice, and determination. Friends, that day wasn't just about a man getting a job. It was about society learning a lesson. Never judge someone's struggles, because behind every weary face is a story of courage that can inspire the world. The father walked out of the building holding his daughter's hand. So at this time his steps were lighter, filled with hope. And the little girl, clutching her doll, whispered with a smile, "Daddy, now our life will be better, right?" He kissed her forehead and replied, "Yes, princess. From today, everything will change." And friends, that is the power of kindness. It not only changes one life, it changes generations. So if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, Soul of Kindness, where every story begins with love and ends with hope.